It's March 14th, 1970. After a long series of preliminary experiments, Dr. Robert J. White enters the operating theatre hoping to transfer one monkey head onto the body of another. After hours and hours of intense work and concentration, the head transplant surgery is completed. And it works! The monkey opens its eyes, it can taste, it reacts to things, it's even trying to eat. What follows next will surprise you. Head transplants have fascinated scientists and the general public for a long time. Just imagine giving a paraplegic person a new body. And so our story begins in 1908 and with American physiologist Dr. Charles Goffrey performing the first dog head transplantation. They attach one dog's head onto another dog's neck, connecting arteries in such a way that blood flowed first to the decapitated head and then to the recipient's head. The experiment was a wonderful proof of concept. The dog demonstrated oral, visual, and cutaneous reflexes. A few minutes later, it died due to blood loss and brain damage, so the experiment was considered a failure. 45 years later, a Soviet doctor named Vladimir Demikhov picked up an interest in this. In 1955, Demikhov made strides in coronary bypass surgery and had successfully completed similar experiments on 4 dogs that lived over 2 years after surgery. Calling Vladimir Demikhov a mad scientist may be a bit of an understatement. In 1954, he made an almost sci-fi tier achievement. He grafted the upper body, including front legs and head, onto another dog. He created a dog with 2 heads, and surprisingly it survived for 29 days. The main limitation to this was the immune response of the head to the donor causing death. In 1965, he'd started to experiment with the concept of head transplant, although he was focused more specifically on brain transplant. He created vascular loops to support blood flow. His method was known as autoperfusion. Using this method, he was able to successfully graft 6 canine brains to 6 other dogs. His experiment showed the possibility of short-term isolated brain transplant. Fast forward to March 14, 1970. White entered the operating room with a rhesus monkey in attempts to perform a successful head transplant using Demikhov's perfusion technique, which has been practiced and perfected in the lead up to 1970. The rhesus monkey was chosen because the animal would give the most accurate representation of a human-like central nervous system. The monkeys were put under, then their heads were fitted with ECGs. After this, the monkeys were decapitated at the 4th and 5th cerebral vertebrae, at the same time preserving blood flow. Extra blood had been drawn from other monkeys just in case. Antibiotics were constantly under supply, along with immune suppression agents to help prevent rejection of the new body-head combination. This was an extremely delicate operation. 24 hours into the surgery, the monkey's head started to show awareness of its surroundings, with its eyes following stimulus and would even attempt to eat any food placed into its mouth. This was a remarkable breakthrough, although ultimately immune rejection caused the monkey to die after 9 days. Dr. Jeffrey Silver called White's experiment on monkeys fairly barbaric. Dr. Robert J. White had successfully proved the concept of head transplant. This surgery proved that full body transplant was possible. Now here's the shocking part. During the 1990s, White planned to perform the same operation on humans and practiced on corpses in mortuaries. He hoped he could do head transplant surgery on physicist Stephen Hawking and the actor Christopher Reeves. He got a lot of flack from animal rights groups and colleagues, most considering his work as somewhat unethical. Robert J. White passed away in 2010 at the age of 84. Obviously, these experiments raise ethical questions, but if successful, head transplants could save lives or extend them. People with disabilities like Stephen Hawking or Chris Reeves could have had their quality of life restored. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below.